And joining us this week to go through the latest and greatest, the good and the great, all the fantastic results we had from across the Bundesliga. We've got the man himself, Chrissy Boy. Chris, thanks a lot for joining us, my man. How you been?
Yeah, thanks. Very, very, very good. I had a nice weekend. Hope you had one too. Thanks for the invitation here. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Lovely. I had a great weekend. Thanks very much for asking. Lots of football to get my head around and keep up to speed with. And yeah, especially the Bundesliga, there's always stories going on. There's always some sort of controversial results. The most obvious one of this weekend, I think, has been talk of the world, really, football over the weekend. And otherwise, across the table, some great results. So thank you very much for joining me, because I'm looking very much forward to having a look at the results with you and looking ahead to the midweek Champions League results we've got for some of these teams, and then the next Bundesliga game week. So it should be a good buzz. I know yourself, Chrissy, with some of your allegiances in Germany, you might not be too happy with the results from the weekend with Wolfsburg doing the dirty on Frankfurt.
Yes, you're right.
But for you, what was the biggest game of the weekend, do you feel?
I think for me the biggest surprise was, of course, Bochum beating Bayern. I watched Frankfurt game, of course, and just saw the goals in the sum up, the highlights. Yeah, but I think Bochum fully deserved to win. They played great in the first half. They shot two goals which were absolutely great. Yeah, big
Christian Gamboa
surprise.
scored some goal, didn't he?
So big surprise, but I guess Bayern will come back from it, and I think Salzburg will be a good opponent to score a lot of goals against.
I feel like when I looked at the Bayern team when it came out, I think anyone who's seen the team would have noticed this as well. It's like they just didn't play any midfielders really. It was just Kimmich and then like Sané, Gnabry, Coleman, Muller, Lewandowski. It was maybe a bit disrespectful. I don't know. How do you feel the team was?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the games before Bochum they played three in the back with three central backs and two
Okay.
very offensive left and right back. And this weekend they played four in the defense with I think four center backs because they don't have left back and right backs for the moment. So they played Hernandez, Upamecano, Süle, and Pavard, which are normally central backs.
Yep.
I was surprised because, of course, the last games they also got a lot of goals against them, but they were quite good offensively. Now they changed it and brought Upamecano back in the lineup. Who had I would say an unlucky game. Didn't look too good at most of the goals, and that's why Nagelsmann also subbed him out at the halftime. Yeah,
Yep.
maybe it would have been better to keep the same lineup as the weeks before, but after the game, you're always smarter and can talk a lot of smart things. Yeah, so I was a bit surprised too, but yeah, Bochum also had a great day and they fully deserved.
Yeah, it was. And I think a lot of SORARE managers would have been very surprised to see Jurgen Locadia get on the score sheet as well, because he's just been derelict for so long.
Yes, that's right. I think he also had great all-around scores in the matches before, but it was surprising to see him make a good score against Bayern. I think it's very poor for a lot of managers who bought Ulreich, because as he was playing for Neuer, who's injured with a
Yep.
surgery, and now they thought Bochum, Salzburg, and Fürth are quite easy matchups, and then they concede four against Bochum. Well, I think Bayern Stags didn't win much at the weekend.
No, which is long overdue, I think, and long may it continue. Speaking of conceding the four goals, again, Leverkusen are at it. Stuttgart losing 4-2 to Leverkusen. And Leverkusen are one of the most attacking teams to watch in the Bundesliga. And it always feels, whenever I watch them, like they can't keep this up, but they keep doing it. They keep just beating everyone kind of before them, and they're scoring and attacking. Another big result, again, 4-2 with Stuttgart.
Yeah, I also really like them watch playing. They have great talents in their squad. Like Wirtz, for example. I'm day in and day out. I'm surprised how good he really is. He also scored in goal, which was taken, was not given for offside. Where he had a ball control, which was completely out of my mind.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah, I would be happy if they could continue to be as good as they are, but every year it's the same. They have the problem to keep the young players. I think some of them they will lose them at the summer transfer period. Yeah, but for now they are playing great football, and I really like to watch them.
Yeah, they've been doing fantastic. So with that result of the weekend, that brings them kind of firmly into third position now. It feels like they've kind of separated from Leipzig and Hoffenheim, etc. And they're really breathing down Dortmund's neck. Dortmund at the weekend didn't have, they kind of got back to winning ways with a good win against Berlin, but over the last month or so, Dortmund have been really sketchy with the goals they've been conceding. So the top of the table, a lot of people think about Bundesliga and like, oh, Bayern just winning, all the rest of it. But even though Bayern do have a big lead, just below that, there's a lot of different interesting dynamics going on there with who's pushing for second Champions League spots, group stages, qualification rounds, that kind of thing. Do you think Leverkusen can keep on their heels?
I think so, yes, because I think they are so constant. They are playing such a good style of football, and now beating Dortmund 2-5 the weekend before.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they are pretty confident now that they are the better team than Dortmund. And yeah, I also like Dortmund playing normally, but yeah, it's you never know what to expect from them, because one match they play very, very good even without Haaland.
Yep.
The other match, yeah, it's like two different teams in one. So I don't know what
Well,
to
at
pick.
the moment, Leverkusen have scored 18 goals in the last 5 matches, which is incredible. They've been on,
Wow.
they've been an absolute heater. 4-2 with Stuttgart, 5-2 with Dortmund, like you said, 5-1 with Augsburg before that, 2-1 with Gladbach, and 2-2 with Union Berlin before that. So they're absolutely running away with the goals at the moment. And Wirtz, as you say, like there's so many players in that team that you look at and you're like, yeah, they are amazing. But when you see them do it as often as they have, a lot of these Leverkusen players, and even guys like Robert Andrich has had if that's Andrich, if I'm not sure how you say his name, sorry, but I think you know who I mean. He's had a really good season as well, and he's not exactly a young kid. He's kind of an older guy, but 28 or so, I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a really good season, been very strong in that midfield, and recently Demerbay's come in as well. So like the squad feels like it's getting consistent, and that's one thing with Leverkusen I've thought over the last year or two is like the centre mids. There was a lot of, is it Aranguiz, is it Demirbay, is it Amiri, is it Palacios? There's been a lot of kind of question marks over that part of the pitch, but the last couple of matches, it feels like Demirbay and Andrich, or Andricht, I don't know how you say it, are settled in there now.
Yes, to be honest, I was surprised that Andrich was going to Leverkusen before the season. I would have expected him to be like a backup for Arangis or some of the guys. But yeah, it seems like he's the perfect puzzle piece they were looking for, and he fits perfectly into their style of play. And now he's scoring also goals. So yeah, very, very important player.
Big time. And again, otherwise, I've seen to you before we came on, like a lot of the results this weekend, if you were to look at it on the surface level and go big team versus small team, a lot of the results kind of went that way this weekend. Hoffenheim winning, Dortmund winning both to nil, didn't concede any goals. Gladbach getting the win with Augsburg, Leipzig beating Cologne, and what was the other one? Leverkusen, Stuttgart, like we just spoke about. Bayern, of course, being the big upset, but otherwise, for me, we were speaking about this at the tip-off. Wolfsburg getting a 2-0 win over Frankfurt is definitely one that caught my attention. Did you see it coming yourself?
To be honest, no, because I watched Wolfsburg against Fürth, and they won 4-1 against Fürth, but I didn't think they were that good. They scored, I think, one or two deflected goals. Fürth was quite dangerous in the first half. Yeah, but Wolfsburg, I think, is more stable in the defense now. They don't giving that many chances away. Yeah, but to be honest, when I watched the game against Fürth, I thought Frankfurt will win it this one, or will be the favorite in this one for sure. And they were the better team in the first half, I think. And
Yep.
Wolfsburg made a lot of errors, which Frankfurt didn't use to score, and then they gave away a penalty. I'm still not sure whether that was the right decision.
Oh no.
Yeah or no, because in the first instance the referee gave a free kick, and then the VAR overturned it, gave the penalty because the foul might have been on the line. It was yeah. So yeah, and when Frankfurt was down 0-1, they weren't that good anymore as in the first half. So in the end, it might be deserved. But yeah, for me, it was surprising as well.
Yeah, because for me, when I've watched Frankfurt over the last little while, especially against Dortmund, I think everyone's done it well against Dortmund, but Frankfurt, even when you think back a couple of years ago, you'll know this better than I do, but Frankfurt have been really good over the last couple of years at like breaking in pace, turning the ball over dead quickly, getting a couple of guys like, Kostic will play a long ball into somebody. There's one or two defenders on attackers, a couple of passes, get a shot away. Maybe they score the goal, maybe they don't. But as soon as you go down 1-0 in a match, that tactic is very difficult to do because the other team is sitting back defending now and you need to come out and make something happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So it can be tough when that your game plan gets taken away from you like that with a penalty. All the same, So looking at the weekend to come, we've got some European football on the go. Some of the big names in Germany are playing. So we've got Dortmund at home to Rangers. Haaland should be back for that, we think.
Yeah, might be. I'm not sure whether they take the risk to start him or if he just will be a sub. But yeah, I also think that he will get his minutes.
Yeah, because the last thing I read, I just got a Haaland limited card, and I was thinking about playing him at the weekend, and then everyone was messaging me like, "Don't do it." And then all the things they were sending me, it was like, "Oh, Haaland is getting rested to come back against Rangers," kind of thing. So I'm hoping he gets at least some minutes because I'd love to see him just go and tear them a new one. That would be good fun for me as a Celtic fan to watch. Having a limited Haaland as well just makes it all the sweeter. But in all seriousness, Rangers, like I've only watched them really against Celtic recently and caught some highlights here and there, but I would expect Dortmund to absolutely run all over them, to be quite truthful. Leipzig are at home to Sociedad. How do you think Leipzig will shape up in that match?
I think with their new coach Tedesco, they're quite good in the defense.
Yep.
I also bought Gulaschi and Orban therefore because
Nice.
Tedesco was famous in Germany when he was at Schalke for good defending and good defenses. And yes, I didn't watch Sociedad that much in this season, but I think they are also maybe defensively better than offensively. So I think it might be a game with quite less goals. Maybe a 1-0 or 0-0, I think. But I also think Leipzig will be favored in this one. They are getting better and better under Tedesco. And yeah, I think Sociedad started the season quite good and now losing their form. So yeah, maybe a close one, but I think Leipzig will win the first leg.
There's one thing I always remember from when I used to like gamble on like football and just do normal like put a bet on is never back against German teams at home in Europe. German teams at home in Europe is like a superpower. It's one of these things. Doesn't matter who they're playing. It's one of these things that they just don't mess about. They don't really take chances. Not many people come to Germany and like thrash German teams. It does happen once in a while, but it doesn't seem to happen that often to me. So I'm always on the side of Germany at home. That's always kind of my kind of angle with it. I recently just bought another Leipzig card myself. I got a Benjamin Henriks.
Okay. He started last match, I think.
Yeah, so I wasn't really aware of Dominic Tedesco until he was at Spartak Moscow because I had some Moscow cards and I watched a lot of Russian football because of that. And in Moscow, don't get me wrong, like they could defend okay, but if anything, I thought, wow, this guy's such an attacking manager. It was 3-4-3. And, I think a lot of the good stuff he did at Spartak, he's managed to do quite well at Leipzig. But Henriks is one of the only defenders that started every game under Tedesco. I managed to pick up a super rare at like 0.24. I mean, you look at the rest of the super rare defenders, they're, the price is like 4 times as much. So I'm hoping it's a value buy more than anything. I don't expect him to become the next Guardiola or anything, but I'm hoping he plays and hope he does okay.
Yeah, I think especially if they're playing a bit weaker games in Germany, where they will attack more, I think he can get involved in some goals. And yeah, I think then it's a good buy.
Yeah. So personally, I'm hoping Leipzig have a good game at home to Sociedad. I've seen this to you before we came on, I watched Sociedad at the weekend and they weren't that great. Actually, it might have been the weekend before, in fact, because I'm just checking. Yeah, it was they beat Granada 2-0. Oyarzabal got the penalty and Rafinha got a goal late on. But the game before that, they played, I think it was Valencia or something like that. Yeah, it was a 0-0 draw. I watched it in the studio with Harry, that's what it was. And they were absolutely dire. So I'm hoping Leipzig can get, me personally, I think it'll be a good first half. I think Leipzig will maybe get a goal or two first half and maybe try and control the game second half and go from there. But be an interesting game, and there'll be a lot of SORARE cards in because both teams are fully licensed and both teams have got a lot of exciting players in midfield and attacking positions. So should be a good one to watch.
Mhm.
And then the other German team we've got in Europe is Bayern away at Salzburg. Now, a lot of people are writing this off as a Bayern thumping. Do we think it's going to be as straightforward as that, Chris?
Yeah, I was not sure. Especially people after the weekend could think that if who loses 4-2 against Bochum could also lose against Salzburg. But yeah, I think it's a Bayern typical thing that if they lose one match, they are much better in the next match and more focused, more concentrated. And I think Salzburg also had their problems at the weekend when they played Rapid Wien. They were 1-0 down.
1-0 down at half time and came back for a 2-1 win. I make you right on that.
Yes. I watched a bit of the game, and they were quite okay in the second half, but also Rapid had a lot of counter attacks, which they could have scored even a second goal. So I think if Bayern is focused, as they were in the matches before, I'm sorry for the Austrians, but I don't think there will be a big chance that Salzburg could take something away from it.
No, I think you're going to be right. I think Bayern are going to get the win. I watched a lot of Salzburg in Champions League this year because their group was very interesting. It was Salzburg, Wolfsburg, Seville, and Lille. So it was quite a tight group. I ended up watching quite a few of the games because of cards and whatever. Salzburg won all 3 games at home, and being a Celtic fan, I can kind of appreciate a small European team having a good home record and what it means. So I would never rule out a bit of magic happening on that basis. But, Bayern, as you say, having such a humiliating loss at the weekend, it's very hard to imagine that they show up in Austria not ready to decapitate some people, and
But I think Salzburg will get their chances, so I don't think it will be a match with with low goal scores.
Agreed.
I think both will score, pretty sure. As both defenses were quite inconsistent the last weeks. So think we will see a quite exciting match.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And then when we cast our eye forward into the next game week for the Bundesliga, again, we've got, with the European football we've just spoke about going on and some of the results we've just mentioned, next weekend there's some massive games for some of these teams trying to solidify their top of the table position, and some of the teams that are trying to still scamper out from the bottom and avoid relegation. Stuttgart, who keep losing, they're at home to Bochum, who just beat Bayern, so that'll be an interesting game, could be a goal fest. Leverkusen have Mainz, so again, another great game for Leverkusen to maybe keep their win and run going, in terms of all the goals they're scoring and whatever Mainz can concede. When you look at next weekend, Chrissy, what game really stands out to you as being a really important game for the table?
I think, of course, Dortmund against Gladbach will be very important, even though Dortmund, I think, are second and 5 points ahead of Leverkusen and 6 points behind Bayern Munich. So, it's not that important maybe for them. But I think Gladbach, they have to recover. The coach Hütter is always in the critics. Not sure if he will keep his spot. I think that will be a very important match for both teams. And as you mentioned, Mainz against Leverkusen could also be an important one, because Mainz, I really like watching them play sometimes, because they have great strikers like Burkhardt and Onisivo in the front.
Yep.
They scored a lot of goals. Lately, not so much anymore. But I think this could be a good match. And for sure, Stuttgart against Bochum will be very interesting. For the bottom of the table, I think Stuttgart, they have to win. I don't know, they haven't won maybe 5 or even more matches in a row now. So they have to win this one. If Bochum will win this one, I think it's pretty
Stuttgart
sure that
done.
they won't get relegated anymore. But if Stuttgart lose this one as well, I don't know who they will win against.
And then the game that kind of catches my eye that we've not touched on yet is Hertha Berlin and Leipzig. So Hertha Berlin are a constant headache for me whenever I look at them, because they've always got nice players in the team. They're always spending money. They're always like, oh, we're really gonna push on now and become a big team in Germany.
Yeah.
And it just never happens. And but still, they have good players. They can randomly beat people, whenever the stars align perfectly. They took a really bad loss in the last game week away to Firth, who are bottom of the table. But I don't ever look at Hertha as a team that you'll beat them, because anything could show up with Berlin. Have you seen much of Berlin yourself much this year, or what would you make of that game, Berlin against Leipzig?
Um, yeah, as you said, you never know what to expect from Berlin, but I think they had a lot of money from the new investor. They spent a lot of money. They bought good players, but it all doesn't fit. And I also think their new coach, Kokut, wasn't the best choice for them. Yeah, I'm quite sad, because normally I like if the capital of a country has a good team. I think in Spain, Madrid is one of the best teams. Then London in England, Paris in France, and yeah. So Hertha,
I agree.
I think they have all possibilities to become a big team. Lots of people living there, and yeah, now season by season, they can't manage to get it on the pitch. Union is
It's very
the
frustrating,
bigger
isn't
team
it?
in Union is now the bigger team in Berlin. I think they have to accept it, even if they are quite new in the first league. I think second or third year. Yeah, they're doing so well, and with less of money.
Much
So yeah,
less. And
much less.
as we were saying as well, it feels like Union Berlin are maybe coming out a bit of form. Maybe they're going to not finish in a European place this year. We'll see what happens. But the thing with Berlin when they came up is they are like the fan team of Berlin, aren't they? They're much better supported, I believe. Being an outsider looking in, and it is like German football is all about that fan over money stuff. So. It's definitely a great story to be taken in. But I say Berlin or Hertha are definitely not a team that you can predict very often. They're very frustrating.
Yeah, that's right. And to come back to your question, I think Leipzig will win this one for sure.
I hope so. That'll make the top four quite tight. And Hoffenheim have got a good fixture as well next week, I'm sure. Again, Hoffenheim not in European football. They're away to Wolfsburg. So that'll actually be quite an important game for a lot of SORARE cards in terms of some players that a lot of people will be using this game week from defenders, because I've noticed some of the Wolfsburg defenders have been getting good points. Hoffenheim have got a lot of good talent in their team. There's a lot of good players. Unfortunately, the thing with Hoffenheim is not a lot of their good players have good SO5 scores because of the way they play football. They lose a lot of possession and turnover play quite a lot.
Yeah.
But that could be a very interesting game. Hoffenheim can either solidify that kind of effort they're making to get European football, and Wolfsburg maybe can venture into the top half of the table finally.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Wolfsburg as they played in the last matches. So normally, I think Hoffenheim would win this one, but yeah, Hoffenheim against Wolfsburg in Germany is also a match you can never expect what's happening. Wolfsburg has a great squad, so if they manage to play as they can, how they can, they could win this one as well. Yeah, but I normally if the better team is Hoffenheim, and I suppose this one to win.
Yeah, fair enough. And to take you back to something you said earlier with the Dortmund and Gladbach match, you reckon if Dortmund get a convincing win, it could be Hütter's last match then for Gladbach?
I'm not sure, because they lost their sporting director, Max Eberl, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, which
Yep.
he was the person who led the club over the last, I think, 15 years or something like that. And I'm not sure if they already have persons to replace him. I don't think so. So I'm not sure who will be able to fire Hütter if if he will lose this match. They didn't lose 2 in a row now, so I don't think that he will be fired if they lose against Dortmund, because I think you always can lose in Dortmund. It's not a big loss.
Yeah, sure.
But I to be honest, I really don't know what to expect from this match. Dortmund could win this one 5-0, but they could also lose this one 5-0. I have no idea.
Oh, no, fair enough. It was just you mentioned that earlier, and I thought I'd come back to it because I wasn't too sure. Because like when you look at the form in the Bundesliga over the last 10 games, Wolfsburg is the worst team in the league, and Gladbach is the second worst team in the league. So over the last 10 games, both teams have been very poor. Wolfsburg's manager has been threatening to get sacked for ages. and then just about as they're about to maybe sack him, they go and get a win and keep him in the job. So I wasn't sure if you're maybe saying Hooter might have been on his last legs with that, because I say over the last 10 games, and don't get me wrong, over the last 5 games, Gladbach are actually 8th, so the form's kind of turned over the last 5 games. Maybe they're turning their stuff around, but I just wanted to ask you what you meant in case that was something to watch out for, because a change of manager can be very significant to a lot of these players.
Yeah, of course. You often see it in football that if the manager changes, that the team gets a boost. Yeah, it was the same for Wolfsburg. I think when Kofeld took over, they won, I don't know, like 2 or 3 matches in a row.
Yep.
And then they didn't win for 8. So yeah.
Yep.
I think in the short term it always has an impact, or most times has an impact. Yeah, but on the long term, it's difficult to say.
Magic. Well, Chrissy, thanks very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to having you back next week to talk a bit more.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun for the first time. I hope you enjoyed it too. And yeah, thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks very much. See you soon.
Bye-bye.